What's up, everybody, and welcome to the introduction of Super Mega League Baseball. Today we are going to be looking at the Air Division. This is one of the 4 divisions that will be participating in the Super Mega League. And before we get started with the games, the storylines, everything, we're going to take a little dive into each division one at a time. There's 4 of them, starting with the Air Division. We'll see some notable players, what the outlook's looking like for the team this season, and kind of start to build some narratives. So let's get right into it. Today, we're looking at the Air Division, and the first team up is going to be the Vipers. So let's get started with the Vipers. Their most important players are going to be Boar Cunningham, Meadow Hodge, Yeoman Castillo, and Damien Glenn. And we'll take a little bit of a deep dive on each of these players. So let's get started with Boar Cunningham. Boar Cunningham is a center fielder, 38 years old, so a little on in his years, but he plays all 3 outfield positions and has a huge bat, hits for contact well enough, and plays the field very well. Great speed, great glove, good arm. Really just an all-around great player. He has been around the league for a long time, probably on his way out pretty soon, but Boar Cunningham, really a leader on this Vipers team. Someone to look up to train the young guys up. A lot of youth on this roster. Let's see if they can do anything with it. Second player we'll be discussing is Meadow Hodge. Plays the hot corner for the Vipers over at third base. Can also play some shortstop. 33 years old for Meadow Hodge. He's an on-base machine. Absolutely crazy bat-to-ball skills. One of the best contact hitters in the league. A little bit of pop in the bat to go with it. Not great on the base paths or in the field, but he does have a cannon for an arm and X-Factor clutch. If you have a man on second, Meadow Hodge will get them home. With that already incredible contact ability, paired with that ice in his veins, he's going to be a danger if he comes up in a spot to drive in runs. Yeoman Castillo is what the Vipers are going to be building around. 20-year-old shortstop, an absolute stud, 5-tool player, great power, great contact, quick, incredible glove, and a decent enough arm at shortstop to be passable. Yeoman Castillo is an up-and-coming MVP candidate. At 20 years old, he still has a lot of things to work on, and he still has some parts of his game that need improvement. Namely, at the plate, he is known to strike out. But with all the upside that Yeoman Castillo has, he is going to be a terror in this league for years to come. Finally, the last player we'll be talking about for the Vipers is Damien Glenn. Damien Glenn is, let's make no bones about it, he's a decent pitcher. He's fine, but the Vipers sport possibly one of the worst rotations and bullpens in the league. It's really going to be dire for the Vipers, and Damien Glenn is the lone bright spot. He could fill in the 2 or 3 spot in most staffs, but for the Vipers, he's the ace and he needs to step up in order for the Vipers to have a chance this season. Damien himself throws 4 pitches, a 4-seamer, a cutter, a curveball, and a changeup. The other 3 starters on the roster all have 5-pitch arsenals, so it's going to be key for all of these starters to keep batters guessing because they do not have the raw talent to blow it by hitters or mix them up with a crazy curveball. They're going to have to be sneaky with their pitch selections and get these guys to hit into weak contact. Now that we've discussed the important players for the Vipers, let's take a look at their outlook as a whole. They've got a lot of young to in their prime players. Immediate success is probably unlikely, but they could keep a decent core together for the foreseeable future, namely building around Yeoman Castillo. A lot of well-rounded hitters that sit just above league average, coupled with some pretty good to honestly great defense in the field, means that they could be competitive through most games. They'll need to be stout mentally and keep mistakes to a minimum to combat the low-quality pitchers that they employ. If they can pick up some decent hurlers in the coming seasons, they could make a splash. But this year, probably not going to happen. This is a future team. Moving on to the next team in the Air Division, we're going to be taking a look at the Fellers here. Let's start by looking at their key center fielder, Axel Holmes. Axel Holmes is 33 years old, bats on the right side of the plate, and has plus contact, great power, plus speed, and a decent glove. His arm's okay, he's fine, and he's going to be an all-around good player out in center field for the Fellers. He's aging out of his prime, and to be honest, the rest of this team is not great, so he could be looking to move to a contender in the near future. The next player we're going to be taking a look at is the young gun at first base, Fowler Smythe. He's got a strange skill set over there, an average glove, but a really strong arm for a first baseman, and hits for contact rather than power. Really something that you don't see often manning first base. And with that low league average power combined with his stronger arm and his great contact means he could be maybe a future second baseman, future corner outfielder. But for now, this season, he's playing first base. He provides pop, he gets on base, and he can clutch up with a man in scoring position. So as he ages into his prime, gets out of that kind of prospect range, that 20 to 23 area, we can hope to see Fowler Smythe develop some more power and grow into an all-star vote getter in this league. Next man up, the ace of the rotation, Jericho Alvarado. He's a junk pitcher that anchors this rotation along with Mario Roman. 3 off-speed pitches in his arsenal makes him dangerous to fastball hitters, but he does lack the accuracy that you would like to see from a guy who throws so much breaking stuff, and that could get him into some trouble. A league average rotation with no standouts will look to keep men off the base paths and earned runs low so that their less than stellar hitting lineup can stay competitive in games, and Jericho Alvarado is going to be a big part of that push. Finally, for the Fellers, we're going to be looking at their closing pitcher, Overt Stanley. Overt Stanley lives and dies by the fastball. His curveball and slider can mix up a hitter who relies too heavily. If they're sitting fastball, you can put him away with those pitches. He's one of the hardest throwing closers in the league, and they're going to rely on him. The Fellers are not going to be able to get a lot of leads, so if Overt Stanley can't lock down the leads that are given to him, you can't really expect this team to even think about 500 baseball. This is going to be a big season for Stanley in his age 28 season. Now that we've seen some of the key contributors, let's talk about the team as a whole. Even with the majority of their lineup being in the 23 to 31 range, lots of guys in their prime, 27, 28 years old, they should be hitting their stride, but there's just way too many average or straight up not good players in this lineup. That kind of production that pervades the entire roster is not going to get it done. So unless we see some heroics by a number of hitters or some incredible seasons from the pitching staff way above expectations, I think we can expect the Fellers to be the back of the pack this season. Next team in the Air Division that we're going to be taking a look at is the Reapers, starting off with their star right fielder this time, a way to mix it up, Reapers, Abdeel Anthony. Now, Abdeel Anthony hits for league average power, nothing special there, but every other facet of his game is truly elite. One of the better players in the league, he's truly a standout. At age 34, he still has the numbers to remain at the top of the game. Combine that with his years of experience, and Abdeel is the perfect leader to build a team around. High quality, high experience, does it all. What a player. Next man up is a guy who's in his prime and looks to follow the example that Abdeel Anthony is setting for this Reapers team, and that's going to be Barrett McMillan at second base. He's a 5-tool player with near elite power, and he can absolutely smash lefties. Barrett McMillan is in his prime, a current and future leader. He's well-rounded, and he can lead the league in a number of categories if things go his way this season. Look out for Barrett McMillan to pair with Abdeel Anthony at the top of this Reapers lineup. Next up, we have Nubs Grant and his platoon partner, Fen Nolan. Both of these players collectively cover every position on the diamond except for catcher. They both can do it all. It's really incredible. Nubs himself is above league average in basically everything in the game. He can cover 4 positions, and that allows the Reapers to bring Fen Nolan in as a defensive substitution to preserve a lead. His versatility, combined with his quality around the field, makes him an asset, especially as a 26-year-old. Finally, for this Reapers team, we're going to be taking a look at the entire pitching staff. There are no standouts here. They're the definition of average, and consistency is going to be important for this staff. A steady stream of decent showings should allow this lineup to produce wins with the talent that they have. The starters are all well-rounded, no crazy power pitchers or junk menaces to speak of, and the same can be said for the bullpen. Pitch mix and placement will be the life or death of the Reapers pitching. Now that we've covered the important players, let's take a look at the team as a whole. They're decent, and they have mid to possibly even high upside. A plethora of utility players means if someone isn't producing, is next man up. We're going to look to the manager to see if he can keep egos in check, production pointing up, and fans happy. This is not a team in a rebuild, but it's not necessarily one that's shooting for the moon. Expect them to pick up a lefty bat or two during the season to try and round out the bench, especially if some of these players aren't living up to expectations, and the Reapers could be looking to make a playoff push at the end of this season. Fourth in the Air division is one of the most exciting teams in the league, and that's going to be the Seamen. They've got a lot of star power and a lot of quality up and down the field that's going to make them a very dangerous team. Starting off with Hoots Barnstormer. Simply put, he's one of the best hitters in the league. His average base running and defense could slow him down, but his hit tool is absolutely spectacular. At only 20 years old, a Hall of Fame career isn't expected, but no one's going to blame you for thinking about it. He plays both second base primarily and can cover it short, and all you need from Hoots is an average glove to keep the errors down, and he can be in the running for league MVP even at his age. A special talent, really. Another steady member of the Seamen's lineup is Agnes Decker. Her lack of fielding prowess leaves her to man the right field corner, but her wheels and hit tool are still enough to keep her in the limelight. She's a threat to steal every time she's on base, and she gets on base a lot. And protected in this lineup by some power bats like Jalen Arkansas and Shark Owen, Agnes Decker can cause a problem for opposing pitchers. Watch out for her causing havoc on the base paths. Next up is an aging veteran on the team, and that's going to be Harvey Rollins. He's a slap hitter through and through, but an effective one to say the least. At 37 years old, he's lost some of that power he used to have in his youth, but he still sees the ball as good as anyone in the league. A sure glove and plus speed in center means his lack of power is not really a liability, and his on-base ability from the 7 spot in the lineup allows the Seamen to easily turn over the lineup when they get down in the order. Finally for the Seamen is the ace of the rotation, Axel Hood. One of the scariest pitchers in the game today, Axel Hood throws gas. A fastball topping 100 and a slider over 90 on a good day is a frightening toolset to plan against. With 3 off-speed pitches to complement her blazing fastball, Axel isn't even a one-trick pony, and she has the movement to back it up. A mean slider that breaks with speed can make some hitters look silly, especially following a 102 fastball. Expect some big things from the 23-year-old southpaw in a possible Pitcher of the Year candidate season. Now that we've touched on some of the key players for the Seamen, let's talk about the team as a whole. With quality up and down the field, the only spots the Seamen could look to improve are catcher and the back of the bullpen. Shoring up their weaknesses and strong seasons from their leaders will put them firmly in the discussion for the division win. A number of their depth pieces are aging, so depending on the way the season goes, look for high upside acquisitions for future-proofing the lineup, as well as quality pieces to win now. This is an interesting team to follow. The penultimate team in the Air division is going to be one that could surprise some folks in the beginning of this Super Mega League baseball season, and that's to be the Clowns. The best player on this team is without a doubt Odin Beltran. He's a well-rounded player whose main draw is his power, and he will provide plenty of runs from the cleanup spot for the Clowns. At 24 years old, Odin can still improve, but his average contact is going to make him a feast or famine hitter, especially against the cream of the crop. If he can take the next step, he could be one of the very best, but he's not there yet, and he's got some work to do. Next man up for the Clowns is going to be their star second baseman, Jeepers Creepers. Following the mold of his compatriot Odin Beltran, Jeepers Creepers will hit dingers, but he's also going to strike out. However, with a stout glove at second base, he can save some runs on the defense while providing them on the offense. Expect this prospect to struggle against elite pitching, but he can mash when he's seeing the ball well. Elevating his ability to barrel up the ball can take Jeepers Creepers to new heights. Time will tell how his future will turn out. The first pitcher we'll be looking at for the Clowns is going to be Betty Mccarty. A long reliever who could start games when necessary, Betty brings only 3 pitches to the table, but they are nasty. An artist in her own right, Betty absolutely paints. With a fastball sitting high 90s and a curveball and changeup to mix hitters, if she's hitting her spot, few in the game are going to have a chance to make good contact. If her stamina wasn't such an issue, she could be one of the better pitchers in the league. However, expect her to see an ERA in the 2s and a healthy chunk of innings, either starting or out of the pen. Finally for the Clowns, we got Oak Owens, a reliever who throws absolute heat. Owens is in the twilight of his career, providing leadership to the young relievers in this bullpen, as well as acting as the setup man to mow down the strongest hitters can really make or break this staff. Oak has a healthy pitch mix, but his movement leaves a little bit to be desired. If his breaking stuff isn't on, he's going to have to look to blow batters away, something he's done for the better part of 15 years now. Good luck and Godspeed, Oak Owens. It'll be a pleasure seeing you off. Looking bigger picture, a strong lineup and a plus rotation means the Clowns are capable of putting up a healthy run differential. The downside is they'll either need a high-scoring offense, an overachieving starting rotation, or both, as their relievers really won't scare many teams. Length from the rotation and not too many slumps from the offense is going to be the Clowns' key to success. Like any team, pitching falling apart could be the death of them, but the upside's high for these could-be contenders. Finally, for the Air Division, we have the Mandibles, one of the most interesting teams that we'll be covering in this intro series. The Mandibles are defined not by specific players, but by their position groups. Starting with the outfield, the three best players on this team take the form of Leon Worrymore, Crispy Riley, and Luciano Wills. While lacking the 5-tool ability most teams have in at least one player, each of these men excel in at least one area. When all of them are on, they'll be a fun team to watch. If 1, 2, or God forbid 3 of them start slumping, turn the TV off and look away. It's gonna get ugly. The next position group we'll be checking out are the starters. Thunder Spence and Oakley Velez will be two of the best pitchers in the league this season, and having those monsters in back-to-back games will be a boon for this subpar offense. Both of them sporting a 5-pitch mix, Spence is among the top 20 pitchers in both velo and junk, while Velez is a painter with good peripherals. With these two online, opposing offenses are going to have a bad day. The rest of the rotation, as well as the bullpen, are nothing to sneeze at either. Really solid players. Speaking of the bullpen, we have Brian Parrish. Perhaps the hardest throwing man in the league. Some say his fastball hits 110. It probably doesn't, but damn if it doesn't feel like it at the plate. With hitters prepping to swing before they even see the ball, his slider and changeup can put a man away before he ever even had a chance. A strong candidate for reliever of the year, Brian is a menace on the mound and can lock down that gap between the Mandibles starters and Bubba Alvarez, their strikeout-heavy closer. While the Mandibles sport a below-average offense, they have experienced hitters who know what it takes to win, and a pitching staff that is a threat any way you slice it. Gritty, underdogs, lunch pail guys, first one in, last one out. All of these cliche phrases could apply to the Mandibles, and if they rise to the occasion, the contenders best beware. A third-place finish would not be surprising for this team, but sneaking into the top 2 of the Air Division is not out of the question for this scrappy squad. With only 8 teams making the playoffs in this league, they're going to have to fight to get there, but it's certainly possible. With all 6 teams covered, that's going to be a wrap for the Air Division. If we didn't cover your favorite team, keep an eye out for the rest of the intro series. We'll be doing all 4 divisions, as well as our preseason predictions with a special guest. Leave a comment down below for how you think the division will stack up. Who's making the playoffs? Who's going to have a disappointing season? I want your SMLB hot takes down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time in Super Mega League Baseball. See ya!